बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम।
शुरू अल्लाह का नाम लेकर जो बड़ा मेहरबान निहायत रहम वाला है।
इन्ना अअतैनाकल कौसर।
ए नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, हमने तुमको कौसर यानी बहुत ज्यादा भलाई अता फरमाई है।
फसल्लि लिरब्बिक वन्हर।
तो अपने परवरदिगार के लिए नमाज पढ़ा करो और कुर्बानी किया करो।
इन्न शानिअक हुवल अबतर।
कुछ शक नहीं कि तुम्हारा दुश्मन ही बेनाम रहेगा।
Please kindly raise, everybody stand up for the national anthem. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. On behalf of the Center for Afghanistan, Middle East and Africa at the Institute of Strategic Studies, I welcome you all to today's roundtable discussion on the African Continental Free Trade Area, which we are hosting in collaboration with African missions in Pakistan. We are grateful to the Dean of African Corps in Pakistan, Ambassador Carmon, who undertook this initiative. Now, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement represents a significant growth potential for the African economy, as it establishes a structure for fostering regional economic integration, growth, and progress throughout the continent. The agreement has the potential to offer Pakistan fresh avenues to enhance its trade and investment connections with African nations, thus generating businesses and reinforcing economic ties. Now, amidst the extensive discussions and discourse surrounding the untapped trade potential between Pakistan and the African continent, today's primary objective is to investigate and explore economic prospects and identify areas of collaboration between Pakistan and Africa. So with these few words, I would now like to hand over the floor to Ms. Dorsef, who is going to moderate the session. We also have our missions joining us from abroad who would like to intervene during the discussion session as well. So you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you so much, dear Ms. Amna, for these introductory remarks. And as you just mentioned it, within the continuity with Africa Day, held in this same place just a few weeks ago, this thematic of Continental Free Trade Agreement, African, shows that Africa deserves a particular and specific attention, like so many other partners started to do, like Japan with TICAD, held recently in Tunisia. Africa is more than a continent of mines and natural resources, usually conceived radically like so. And as you just mentioned right now, the implementation of this agreement would be a huge step forward, the development for Pakistan, but also for Africa and for so many other partners, to demonstrate to the world that it is Africa is an emerging leader on the global cultural trade agenda. So we will discuss all of these aspects of this agreement and dispositions and potential of this agreement actually from African and Pakistani spectrum. And now, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully that I can moderate successfully in the presence of my seniors here the debate, because it's not comfortable situation at all. So I kindly ask all the intervenant to be as brief as possible. I know the subject is very important from the African side, also from the Pakistani side. So we can dedicate more time for the discussion, and especially for the Pakistani and our friends are just joining us online. And now I have the pleasure to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed Karmoon, the Dean of the Group of African Ambassadors and Head of Missions accredited in Pakistan. Excellence, the floor of yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorsa. I would like, first of all, to thank the Institute of Strategic Studies to give the opportunity to the African missions accredited to Islamabad to celebrate for a second time the Africa Day. And they would like my thanks goes also to Ambassador Suhail Mahmoud and Ambassador Khalid Mahmoud, Amna Malik, and all those who are present here to celebrate and to honor us at this event. So Africa has a significant role to play in driving inclusive growth and sustainable development globally. There are many smart investment opportunities in key sectors, namely agriculture, energy market, minerals, health infrastructures, and pharmaceutical industries, light manufacturing, transport, and logistics, digital economy, and many more. The continent remains a treasure trove for smart investors around the globe. Despite facing significant headwinds due to global socio-economic shocks, Africa is set to outperform the rest of the world in economic growth over the next 2 years, with real gross domestic product averaging around 4%. Africa can and will rise to growth of 7% or more per year consistently in the coming decades. Building on the resiliency of the 54 African countries is a real acceleration of the continent's sustainable development so that Africa will be the fast growing part of the world economy. No doubt, Africa is the place to invest, taking into consideration the views, analysis of various worldwide reports, think tanks, and research centers. Despite the confluence of multiple shocks, growth across all the 5 African regions was positive in 2022, and the outlook for 2023-2024 is projected to be stable. The African Continental Free Trade Area is a common will of the 54 African countries to build a common market for goods and services to unlock the potential for the development of the continent and to increase the interstate trade between African countries. The main objective is Africa's economic integration and development. The African Common Market covers a region with a total gross domestic product of approximately 3.4 trillion and the market of about 1.4 billion consumers. As of April 2023, 47 African countries have ratified the agreement, which represent 87%, which came into force in May 2019. Since this date, efforts are being made to accelerate the implementation of the existing tools to facilitate trade under the AfCFTA. The African Union has made the acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area implementation its main theme for the year 2023, to increase the attractiveness of the African market for trade and investment. Though a number of critical protocols have yet to be negotiated, finalized, and implemented. I am referring here to protocols on investments, competition policy, and intellectual property rights, digital trade, continental customs union, women and youth in trade. The ratification and the implementation of these protocols will make African continent more attractive for both local and foreign direct investments. In this respect, business communities from Africa and Pakistan can join efforts to benefit from numerous market opportunities in the continent. The implementation of the AfCFTA will undoubtedly unveil a great potential for further growth in Pakistan-Africa trade economic relations. Many African countries are still underway in the projects of development of their respective economic sectors and have a potentially lucrative market for Pakistani businesses. Our common objective, however, is to make Pakistan and Africa economic relations sustainable by encouraging business communities to set up win-win investment joint ventures in different economic areas. The AfCFTA Secretariat has selected 4 key sectors that represent high potential opportunities for companies looking to invest in Africa. 1, the automotive industry. 2nd, agriculture and agro processing. 3rd, pharmaceuticals, fourth, transportation and logistics. Other sectors such as infrastructure, energy, mines, ICT, education, tourism present equally a high potential. African countries are looking for the export of high value added products. The AfCFTA is an opportunity to promote industrial development through regional value chain development, agricultural development, and food security. The export of primary commodities has made the continent particularly vulnerable to external economic shocks and protectionist trade policies. Thank you so much for your attention.
So thank you, Excellency, for these insightful remarks, which shows the great potential of the Continental Free Trade Agreement to make operational the economic attractivity of our continent. And thank you once again. And we move now straight forward to His Excellency, Mr. Suhail Mahmoud, DG of ISSI, to give his remarks. Please, Excellency.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, Mr. Mohammed Karmoun, Ambassador of Morocco and Dean of the African Envoy Corps, Excellencies, Heads of African Missions in Pakistan, Heads of Pakistan Missions in Africa, joining us online, Additional Secretary, Mr. Javed Umrani, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Senior Officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Commerce, business leaders, other distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It is a great privilege for the Institute of Strategic Studies to welcome you to this Africa Day 2023 roundtable discussion on the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are deeply conscious and appreciative of the initiative taken by the African missions in Pakistan to organize this important roundtable. The ISSI is happy to collaborate in this worthy endeavor. We are also proud that on 25th of May, we had a memorable Africa Day 2023 celebration at ISSI with the support of you all. Your thoughtful interventions and specific suggestions on further deepening Pakistan-Africa collaboration were invaluable. It would also be recalled that we unveiled a special issue of the Pivot magazine focused on engaging Africa. Also, the African missions organized an exhibition of African products which evoked wide interest. Distinguished participants, for several years now, Pakistan's engagement with Africa continues to grow steadily. In this regard, the Engage Africa policy being pursued by Pakistan seeks to expand both its diplomatic footprint in Africa and forge a robust economic partnership with the continent. Also, the Ministry of Commerce's Look Africa initiative has been instrumental in the convening of 3 trade and investment conferences in key economic centers in Africa and has led to increase in two-way trade. However, as we all are aware, much more needs to be done. Today's roundtable is of particular significance in the context of the required efforts. The African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA, is a major milestone for the African continent, which is home to 54 member states, a 1.4 billion strong market, and a combined GDP of over $3 trillion. As the process of integration and economic development accelerates in Africa, there are vast opportunities to be tapped for both African nations and their international partners. There are clear possibilities for enhanced mutually beneficial trade and investment ties between Pakistan and Africa through this particular platform. Apart from the areas in which the two sides are already collaborating, there are several other sectors, including agriculture, energy, pharmaceuticals, and infrastructure that hold great promise and potential. And Ambassador Karmoun just mentioned the 4 key sectors that have been identified for priority attention by the African side also. Obviously, converting the potential into concrete outcomes would require addressing certain challenges as well. On our part, this would include improving transportation and communication infrastructure, enhancing competitiveness, and forging sustained interaction between the business communities on both sides. Vast improvements in both hard and soft connectivity will be imperative. The most crucial requirement is to make sure that the business communities and potential investors on both sides are fully aware and cognizant of the opportunities opened up by AfCFTA. In this regard, continuous flow of information and dynamic interface among all key stakeholders are indispensable. As such, we deeply appreciate that we have in this roundtable not only the distinguished envoys, but also senior officials of the Foreign Ministry of Commerce and the chambers. I'm sure that it will be a highly enlightening session for us and would yield positive results. Before I conclude, I would also like to take this opportunity to extend our most sincere congratulations to His Excellency Brahim Romani, Ambassador of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, and our brothers and sisters in Algeria on their successful election to the UN Security Council for the term 24-25. This is a great honor and we wish them the best. Of course, Sierra Leone is not here, but we extend our congratulations to them as well. I thank you all and wish you very fruitful deliberations for this roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your remarks. And after seeing the Pakistani perspective toward the CFTA, which is already converted the efforts of cooperation by hosting conferences, exchanging business community, etc. We will move now the floor to the African and institutional presentation on the African level with His Excellency Mr. Wankeli Mene, Secretary General of CFTA. He's just joining us online right now. Please, the floor.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to deliver these remarks on the occasion of Africa Day, which actually this year coincides with the 60th anniversary and celebration of the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, which was established in May 1963 in the historic city of Addis Ababa. Coincidentally, the theme for this year, the African Union theme for this year, as designated by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government, is, and I quote, acceleration of the AfCFTA implementation, end quote. The AfCFTA is an incredibly important tool for implementation of the vision of an integrated Africa as articulated and expressed by our founding mothers and fathers of the Organization of African Unity. The AfCFTA was established on March 21st, 2018, when 44 countries signed the agreement establishing the AfCFTA, and since then, significant progress has been achieved. As we speak, 47 countries have ratified the agreement establishing the AfCFTA. Implementation is in full mode, and the Secretariat of the AfCFTA is fully operational in Accra, Ghana, with the full support of the government of Ghana. We're at a stage today where I'm very pleased to report to you that trading under rules, preferential rules of the AfCFTA has commenced. Last year, we traded up to 96 products under rules of the AfCFTA. Preferential treatment that countries trading under the AfCFTA provided to one another is the basis for the trade that took place and has been taking place since then. What is remarkable about the trade that is taking place under the AfCFTA rules is that for the first time since the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, for the first time we see regional trade across the African continent, West Africa trading with East Africa, North Africa trading with Central, Southern Africa. We truly are in a position where we can say that regional trade across regions of the African continent is taking place on the basis of the preferential treatment of the AfCFTA. The trade that we see is inclusive, large corporations, and more importantly, smallholder farmers, as we saw last year with the export of tea, value-added production, tea that was exported from Kenya to West Africa, which was produced by smallholder farmers who were organized into cooperatives. There are other examples of trade that is taking place under rules of the AfCFTA, which includes small medium enterprises and young entrepreneurs. It is precisely this type of inclusivity of trade that we believe will create job opportunities in Africa and will boost intra-Africa trade. Since the establishment of the AfCFTA Secretariat in Accra, Ghana, as I mentioned earlier, much progress has been recorded. In the area of rules of origin, we have converged on over 88% of all of products traded in Africa. Going forward, these products will be traded on the basis of a single rule of origin. We have an AfCFTA tariff book, which provides certainty and predictability for economic operators. Certificates of origin are being issued by designated authorities across the African continent, and once again enabling our economic operators to expand their export markets to new markets that the AfCFTA is opening. Much work remains to be done. We have concluded 3 protocols that were adopted by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government in February this year: the Protocol on Investment, the Protocol on Competition, and the Protocol on Intellectual Property Rights are now part of the pillars of implementation of the AfCFTA. 2 more additional protocols will be concluded by June this year, and these protocols are the Protocol on Digital Trade, which will enable the digitization and promote the digitization of trade in Africa. We are also on track to conclude the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, which is an important protocol if we want to achieve our aspirations of access to trade for women-owned businesses and young entrepreneurs. All of this would not have been achieved without the support of our institutional partners, our development finance institutions in Africa, AfrEximBank, Africa Finance Corporation, as well as the African Development Bank and other development finance institutions who have committed to support the AfCFTA to ensure that we move beyond being just a trade agreement, that we develop and deploy tools for implementation of the AfCFTA. I'm most grateful for their support, which over the last 3 years has enabled implementation of the AfCFTA to be accelerated. Some of the tools that I referred to, which we have introduced with our strategic partners, are the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, which we have recently operationalized with AfrEximBank, and we have jointly mobilized over $1 billion towards implementation of the AfCFTA, and we have committed to mobilize up to $10 billion to support state parties of the AfCFTA who need the support for implementation of the agreement. We have also introduced a digital payments platform, the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, which will enable trade in local currency, which also is an important deliverable for small medium enterprises to enable them to trade across the African continent at affordable and cost-effective terms. Small medium enterprises create millions and millions of jobs across the African continent. And so as we open the market of the AfCFTA, we have to make sure that they are at the center of benefits. As I conclude, let me once again invoke the aspirations of the founding mothers and fathers of the Organization of African Unity as we celebrate 60 years of its establishment. We know that the journey ahead remains challenging, but the AfCFTA has offered us a very unique opportunity to take a step forward in the integration of our economy in our continent, and a step forward in the creation of a single market for the African continent. And so not only do we stand on the shoulders of the founding mothers and fathers of the Organization of African Unity, but we should build on what they started, and we should complete the journey that they started of an integrated Africa. Thank you very much, and I wish all of us
So it was really a very rich presentation from African Union expertise in the trade sector. So, and what we can take the most important from this recorded video, actually, it was not a direct communication, that the regional and the intra-regional trade in Africa really is truly in the position since the adoption of the agreements by the African countries, but also for the implementation of the agreement, we do need support from partners, because it provides a great tool for African, great tool of development for African and other partners. And now we will move, and here I kindly ask excellencies and to be like very as brief as possible. We are moving to the remarks and input of the African head of missions in Pakistan, and we will proceed by the alphabetical order. And here we will start by His Excellency, Mr. Ibrahim Romani, Ambassador of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. No? You have a chief guest? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I'm so sorry, because I was acknowledged by the team that we have some default of the chief guest. So now I'm so sorry, Excellency. We are moving straight forward to Mr. Ahmed Omrani, Additional Secretary for Africa, to give us his remarks. Please, Excellency, and my apologies once again.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsef Marufi, distinguished guest. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I am honored to address this esteemed gathering of distinguished professionals at the Roundtable Conference on the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA. Firstly, I would like to express my profound appreciation to Chairman IWSI, Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, DG IWSI Suhail Mahmood Saab, and their team for bringing together such a diverse and knowledgeable group of experts, policymakers, and stakeholders. I appreciate the message from the Secretary General of AfCFTA, His Excellency Wankel Mann, and welcome the presence of the Dean of the Group of African Ambassadors, His Excellency Mohammed Carmone. fellow ambassadors, diplomats, and representatives and of chambers of Islamabad. This event serves as a testament to our shared commitment to fostering greater regional integration and economic cooperation of the African continent with Pakistan. The AfCFTA represents a historic milestone uniting the African nations under a single market, creating a platform for economic growth, job creation, and sustainable development. It presents a unique opportunity for African countries to harness their collective potential, leverage their resources, and address common challenges together. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today, Pakistan reaffirms its unwavering support for the objectives and aspirations of the AfCFTA. Our long-standing relationship with Africa is rooted in shared history, cultural ties, and mutual respect. We recognize the immense potential that lies in deepening our economic engagement and forging stronger trade links with our African partners. Pakistan's geographical location and the crossroads of South Asia, the Middle East, and Central Asia positions us as a natural gateway for trade and investment between Africa and these regions. We are committed to leveraging this strategic advantage to enhance trade flows, diversity of our economic cooperation, and strengthen our partnership with African countries. The AfCFTA provides a shining opportunity for Pakistan too. Pakistan can tap into this market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of around 3.4 trillion US dollars through the AfCFTA. This will certainly increase value addition, innovation, and regional integration within Africa. All of them can be beneficial for economic cooperation with Pakistan. Pakistan is ready to play its part, both as a friend and a partner. We look forward to deepening our engagement with Africa, strengthening our trade ties, and exploring new avenues of cooperation under the framework of the AfCFTA. In conclusion, all right, let us see this moment to reaffirm our commitment to the AfCFTA's objectives, redouble our efforts to overcome the challenges ahead, and work together towards a more prosperous, interconnected, and sustainable future for Africa. I thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency, and for this really useful remarks, because it's very important for us as African missions here based in Pakistan to listen from our concerned department, Africa department in MOFA. So, and now we will move to the remarks and inputs of the African head of missions here based in Pakistan, and we will start with the alphabetic order. Yes.
Just to, sorry, I just want to make a suggestion that in fact, we make remarks about the AfCFTA. Otherwise, it becomes a long thing if we talk about specific countries and, becomes a long meeting. So I want to make that, to appeal that we focus on this, because this is a day about that. But if there is a question about a specific country, I think we can always answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Excellency. It was a very pertinent remark. Of course, it's very important to specify and to be very related to our subject today, which is the agreement and the CFTA. And now we will move to the remarks and inputs by our African head of missions in Pakistan, and we will proceed by alphabetic order. We will start with His Excellency Mr. Ibrahim Roumeni, Ambassador of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. Please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman of the Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad, Excellency DG of ISSI, Ambassador Suhail Mahmoud, Mr. Dean of African Group, dear Dr. Amina Khan, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the Islamabad Institute of Strategic Studies for the warm hospitality and the value support. Thanks to the group African ambassadors for this good initiative to celebrate African Days, a glorious occasion in which we remember the struggles and sacrifice of numerous generations of African leaders and peoples who seek for freedom, peace, development, and prosperity, to give Africa its absolute respectful position in the international stage and its right to establish balanced and fruitful relation of friendship and cooperation with all the world. Africa, rich in natural and human resources, with its glorious history of struggle, strong solidarity, and deep unity, with a new policy, with energy of its rising youth and distinguished competencies, with different projects for development and regional and continental integration, Africa will have a bright future of goodness and prosperity. Within the framework of bilateral and multilateral relation, in the non-aligned movement or organization of Islamic cooperation or South-South cooperation, there are great opportunities for fruitful cooperation and successful partnership between Africa and Pakistan, which Pakistan, brotherly great country with a major pivotal country in South Asia, a brotherly country which we have, with which we share a lot of in the past, present, and the future. Similar to Africa's relation with different regions and major countries, we hope that the cooperation between Pakistan and Africa will expand and strengthen within a practical and constructive perspective through various mechanisms such as political consultation committees, joint committees for economic and technical cooperation, businessmen's council, scientific businessmen's council, and all the various cooperation in scientific, cultural, and tourism exchanging, and many others. We hope that coordination, consultation, and cooperation shall strengthen between the group of Africa ambassadors and Pakistani Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other various institutions Pakistani to embody mutual ideas and proposed projects to promote the relation of African countries with the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in diverse fields, particularly in the area of trade, investment, and scientific and technological cooperation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, I am pleased to inform you that my country, Algeria, has been elected by almost majority in United Nations on 6th June before yesterday as a non-permanent member of the Security Council for the term 24-25. That this confirms the high reputation and the great credibility of Algeria in the international level. This election is opportunity for Algeria to continue its efforts and double its contribution to the defense of security, peace, justice, and development in the world, especially Africa's just causes and its legitimate right to a distant position and prominent role in a new world order that Africa seeks, characterized by pluralism, justice, with balance, fairness, and understanding, and fruitful cooperation for all. The voice of Algeria in Security Council will be the voice of African and Arab and Muslim countries, the voice of freedom, development, and multilateralism. I conclude by extending my sincere thanks to and deep appreciation to brotherly Republic Islamic of Pakistan, to the African, Arab, and Islamic countries, and all other countries which supported Algeria's candidacy in Security Council, wishing the progress, all the progress, great prosperity in the relation between Pakistan and Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Excellency, and we congratulate once again our dear Algeria for its membership for the Security Council. It's a matter of great joy, hope, and pride for us. So, and now we will move to Her Excellency, Ms. Nyambura Kamu, High Commissioner of the Republic of Kenya. Please. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. Excellency Jamal Bakr from Ethiopia. We are sorry.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Very good afternoon, Excellency Chairman of ISSI, Excellency Ambassador Kamoni, our Dean, Excellency Ambassador Sohail, Executive Director of ISSI, Excellency Javed Ahmed, Additional Secretary of MOFA, dear colleagues, invited guests, medias, business communities, and High Commission or ambassadors of Pakistan who are based in Africa. I'd like to extend all to you my warmest greeting on this special occasion today. For the second time, we also gathered here in this beautiful setting. We'd like to acknowledge all the teams who have given us a good smile and good tea and all service. I'd like to thank you on behalf of our teams. Today, I think it is very special. You know, the point of nowadays focusing in Africa. Africa means, as we all know and has been said, in 21st century, no more consider Africa as a gloomy state, a gloomy continent. It's a bright, hopeful continent. It's a future continent. Why? 4 factors. Number 1, due to its population. If you consider it, Africa, the population of Africa, by 2050, it will become 2.5 billion, which is especially double itself. Again, 1/4 of the global population workforce come from this continent. So there is no way we can ignore. And it means also we cannot also mislocate ourselves. So this population, especially education that has been given very strong place. So technological adaptation, as it has been said in AfCFTA, technological digitalization and inclusivity and reducing the divide among this one is a priority in African continent. The second is natural resources, has been said by my dear friend. Natural resource, if we see Africa, it has 60% of irrigable land in the world, it belongs to Africa. If you see geographically, Africa is a combined continent, which can be covered China, US, India, US and India, Europe all together, which means it's very huge in terms of land. It has got also natural resources of gold, lithium, all named. That means it is very, very important to also get in contact with that. The third point, a governance issue. Issue of governance and security issue is rising in Africa. Africa has got a modalities of handling its own challenge. One way we have resolved the year, if you see Ethiopia has been in conflict in the 2022, where we have resolved it in Pretoria, that African solutions for Africa's problem. So Africa has a capacity to resolve its own problem. That is on the rise, which is very amazing. We also believe the issue of Sudan will be resolved in this framework, that we can bring changes in Africa. The fourth point to consider is economy. If you see the fastest growing economy in the globe, most of the fastest growing economy during this challenging, which is COVID time and others, is in Africa. So that means it is a huge thing to do. So what is on the menu for us then? It is very important, as has been said, to strengthen the issue of this Look Africa initiative, which provides a platform like now today, the idea generating in this table that can bring closer Africa and Pakistan together in that aspect. I do believe the corridor that is developed now on the part of BRI, which is mostly African country part, so Gwadar, which is very close to Djibouti, all the way from Gwadar to Djibouti is 2 days only by the sea, and then connect directly from Djibouti to Addis Ababa, all the way to the road to the headquarters of Africa Union. So that issue of infrastructural connectivity, with that is also broaden the opportunities, which is also on the issue that will transform this regional cooperation, plus brings Pakistan and Africa more closer to that point. So what is on the menu, as has been said, it is very important to strategically locate and bring work together with an institution like AfCFTA and the other African platform, where they can be issues that can connect this country in removing barriers to trade, barriers to investment, barrier to technology transfer. I do believe Pakistan provides a very good platform for African brothers, African continent. And we like to strengthen this one. Our head of missions who are here with Africa, from Africa, will work in mutual complementary with your head mission in Africa. I like to congratulate all of you for attending. Above all, I like to congratulate our brotherly country, Algeria's being elected in Security Council, and it will advance the causes of Africa at the continent, as a continent, inshallah, and also Senegal for taking Africa's cause at the global level to ensure peace and prosperity. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. And now we will move straight forward for Her Excellency, High Commissioner of Kenya.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by thanking the ISSI for organizing this loud table talks. All protocols observed. I want to maybe give more of a brief of what Kenya has done in terms of implementation of the AfCFTA, Africa Free Trade Agreement. Kenya is among the champions for AfCFTA and a key leader in implementation of the agreement in Africa. On 10th of May, 2018, Kenya and Ghana became the first countries to deposit the instruments of ratification of the AfCFTA. In August 2022, Kenya launched the AfCFTA implementation strategy. The strategy identifies priority export products and sectors for goods and services aligned with Kenya's national development goals and aspirations, including the integrated national export development and promotion strategy, among other government policies. The mission for the national AfCFTA implementation strategy 2022-2027 is to bolster Kenya's trade and investment with AfCFTA state parties in order to support inclusive economic growth and sustainable development. The strategic objectives of the strategy include facilitate safe, secure, and effective trade in goods and services within AfCFTA, enhance Kenya's productive capacity and competitive advantage of domestic producers and exporters under AfCFTA, build strong institution and regulatory framework to support effective implementation of the agreement, facilitate inclusive women, youth, persons with a disability, and the active participation of MSMEs in leveraging opportunities under the agreement for the sustainable development. Develop a comprehensive and efficient common national approach to continental integration and increase awareness allowed AfCFTA for all stakeholders. And lastly, ensure adequate and timely financing for strategy implementation and contribute to sustainable development through mutually supportive trade and environmental initiative. I want to highlight some of the achievements that Kenya has made under the AfCFTA. Kenya Revenue Authority, through the Customs and Border Control Department, is in charge of issuance of provincial proofs of origin, including the AfCFTA certificates of origin. Kenya exported its first consignment under AfCFTA agreement to Ghana on 5th of October 2022 through guided initiative established by AfCFTA Secretariat. This is after the gazettement of the East African Community Provincial Schedule of Tariff Concessions of Category A products in September 2022. Kenya procured 15,000 AfCFTA certificates of origin. Other exporters who have been exporting goods outside the AfCFTA framework have applied to export goods under the AfCFTA agreement and are being facilitated. Kenya has drafted and submitted for gazettement the East African Schedule of Tariff Concessions for the AfCFTA for Category A products, 90% of the tariff lines. The tariff concessions were gazetted on 6th of September 2022. Kenya is and has been sensitizing customs officials stationed at our border posts on their role of signing and issuing AfCFTA certificates of origins. I can just mention some of the products that Kenya expects or is exporting under the agreement. This is tea, Exide batteries, confectionery, leather bags, beaded products, textiles, sisal, avocados, and fresh produce. I just wanted to mention those few products and to let my my friends from Pakistan to know that there is potential in Africa through this AfCFTA agreement. And I welcome, we are ready as heads of missions stationed in Islamabad to provide you with any information that you may require to ensure that the policy of Pakistan of Look Africa is achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now we will move straight forward to His Excellency, Mr. Rashid Ali Sobadar, High Commissioner of the Republic of Mauritius.
Thank you, gentle lady. Very kind of you. Excellencies, I will be very brief today. Today, it is a day of reflection. Where we want to go, where Africa wants to go. We are debating a very important issue concerning our continent. Once upon a time in history, our continent was known as the mother of mankind. Mother of mankind. Once upon a time in history. Can we now, with this free trade agreement, can we build a new Africa? The debate today is around to build a Naya Africa, to build a new Africa. This is why our brothers and sisters in the African Union have worked very seriously upon a very important tool, economic tool, to promote economic growth, to promote economic development, and at the same time, to uplift the conditions of our people. This treaty, when it will be implemented, mark my word, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to change the face of Africa. And in that context, we have a lot of work to do. Now, allow me just to throw a few statistics to better cernate, to better understand the problem. The first one is, trade between African countries today, 54 African countries. The trade today is 70% of all trade. Here, we have a lot of work to do. 70%. When we look at Asia, the continent, they are doing nearly 60% of trade among themselves. We are at 17%. When you look at Europe, they have reached nearly 70% trade among themselves. This is why I am placing a lot of emphasis on this agreement. Luckily now in Africa, gone are the days of coup d'etat, gone are the days of bad governance, gone are the days of internal quarrels and quibblings. Africa now want to uplift the conditions of our people. And in that context, these statistics are very important. I have tried to get some more statistics just to explain to you the significance, the importance of this situation in Africa today. We have, number one, human capital. Just like Pakistan, in Africa today, we have a huge reservoir of young men, young women willing to work, willing to build Africa. Dear brothers and sisters, 60% of our land, arable land, agricultural land, are untapped. Just imagine, here is an area where Pakistan can jump in. Pakistan is an agricultural country, keeping in mind nearly 60% of our land are not utilized to produce goods and services. I hope that the message will be very clear to one and all. 30% of mineral resources we do have in Africa. 30% of we have natural resources, we have mineral resources, we have arable land, we have a treaty. What else we want now? Investment is a very important component of economic growth. If really we want to change the face of Africa, I have said it in the beginning, mother of mankind. If really we want that, this is an opportunity with this treaty. Investing in that treaty, people will be moving around the borders. Goods will be moving around the borders. Investment will be moving around the borders. Visa will be no more an issue. So for me today, the future look bright. The future look bright. And if all of us put our heads together on good governance, on rule of law, on proper administration and administration of companies, if we build a solid financial sector, Africa will become prosperous again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for your insightful remarks and for very optimistic, really, remarks. Every time when I'm just listening to your sayings, I'm a young lady, you know, I'm presenting the future of Africa. Yes, of course, I need Africa too, my continent. And really, it's always pleasure listening to you. And now we are moving to our Dean, His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed Karmoun, Ambassador of Kingdom of Morocco. Please. No? Okay. They're not spoken. No, Nigeria. Now we will move to His Excellency, Mr. Bello, for his remarks, please. High Commissioner of Nigeria.
The DG ISSI and the chairman, the Dean of African ambassadors, please permit me to stand on the existing protocol because of time. I think well, I want to join forces with others to appreciate this center for their very keen interest in African affairs. I think a few days ago, we all gathered here. A very, very memorable and historic event to remember our dear continent, Africa. Today is another day. This one is focused on the AfCFTA. Well, this agreement, I don't need to belabor you, it has been duly defined, the details given in most of the presentations that we have done so far. Well, what we are just talking now is about what benefits will Pakistan and the African continent can derive from these agreements. The agreement, well, in brevity, it's the one providing a common economic market for African countries. And the benefits derivable are extensively be elucidated by the previous speakers. And well, just like the provision of this agreement and others, you know, related matters to promote trade between our various countries, then our continent and Pakistan. I want to observe that because of the myriads of similarities between Pakistan and African countries, ranging from our very, very, very thick population and of a large army of workforce, opportunities in various areas of human endeavors. We don't, as countries in the southern hemisphere of the world, we don't have option than to cooperate for the socio-economic benefit of our people. Well, I want to be practical. The agreements under reference, to me, is a kind of agreement that will liberate all of us, both Pakistan and Africa, from the bondage of a kind of economic slavery, which is happening around the world. So we have no option than to embrace it. I want to exemplify with little information I've been able to gather in the course of my meeting industrialists across Pakistan. I discovered that because of the fact that we are not really working together, both Pakistan and the African countries, we have been cheated. I saw so many factories in Pakistan who claim to be producing, and they don't sell their articles, they don't sell their products in Pakistan. They say they sell in other countries. Whereas in the African continent, we have very large markets, very big purchasing power, and mind you, Africans will buy cash down. We don't buy on credit. I was trying to imagine why not, instead of why not diversify and try to do a little bit of business with African countries too? Because I can see that most of these goods, when they are produced here, or vice versa, they are taken to certain part of the world, they are labeled and sold at very exorbitant prices in such a way that the kind of profit margin is so wide, the producer is not gaining anything, it's the middleman that is gaining. So what am I therefore saying? The agreement, the AfCFTA, provides an opportunity for a kind of win-win situation between African countries and Pakistan towards uplifting the volume of trade, commerce, and technological development between Pakistan and African countries. Well, I think I need to mention that to do all this, there is the need for Pakistan and the African countries to be sociologically, politically, and sociologically, psychologically, and politically, develop the will to work together under a very, 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 very laudable, agreement that like the AfCFTA. On this note, I want to mention that my country, Nigeria, offers a very, very big opportunities for Pakistanis industrial products in the areas of pharmaceuticals, textiles, agric machinery, etc. And we have been able to put in place so many, incentives to, encourage investors to our country. That is, and the most important of this is that Nigeria is a very, very, very safe, just like most other African countries, very safe and secured places. Because one of the problems that is hampering the improved trade volume between our two countries is that we don't really know ourselves. There was a day I was discussing with a Pakistani businessman, and he said he will go with me to Nigeria to go and see something. Then then he got a phone call. Then he said, he was telling that man that he wants to go to Nigeria. Then he said, my father-in-law said I should not go to Nigeria, it's not secure. The same thing. People are coming to Pakistan. One lady came for a program here, and she was telling me when he saw Pakistan, he said, he didn't know that Pakistan is like this. They had a very bad impression that so will happen. So that the need to work for, towards letting our people know that. When I got here, I told them that Pakistan is one of the safest places I've seen in the world. So you can do trade here. What am I doing? There's the need for dissemination of proper information between the African continents. They were just mentioning the issue of Sudan. Most of these issues, they are overblown by a certain section of the press in the world. They have presented most of these countries, especially the countries in Africa and even Pakistan, as if we are unsafe. It's not like that. We need to overcome all these things. Whatever kind of agreement we put in place, there is the need for us to overcome all these artificial barriers that have been created between Pakistan and the countries in the African continent. I want to suggest that, like I said, the issue of Look Africa initiative, as good as this, I said, whatever initiative any person or group or country puts in place, there is the need for evaluation. What results have been obtained from that initiative? Because my experience is that I don't think the business communities in the two countries have been properly mobilized. We have not been properly mobilized. They have not been properly mobilized. that we need, that we must deal together. Now, with all this in place, meanwhile, I think the whole essence, whether it's African Continental Free Trade Agreement or anything, is towards improvements in the volume of trade, commerce, technological transfer, and all the rest. That is the overall benefit is socio-economic well-being of our citizens. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Excellency, for your insightful remarks. And now we will go straight forward for His Excellency Mthutuzeli Mazikida, the High Commissioner of South Africa.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Chairman of the ISSI, all protocol observed. My contribution, it will be very, very short. Just to give an indication that AfCFTA that we are talking about today is actually a result of a long, long, long way that Africa has traversed up to now. And also, just to let you know that it's not just something that is flying in the air. It has been established on a firm foundation of other institutions. My colleagues have made reference to some of them indirectly. Of course, the first one being the African regional architecture that seems to be the easiest or makes the job of the AfCFTA quite easy. The customs unions in the different regions have really contributed a lot to fast track the establishment of this. The other important thing is, of course, it is buoyed by the peer review mechanism that the African Union has established. In other words, my colleague referred to the rule of law being one of the targets that our African unity seeks to achieve. Of course, we are hard at work silencing the guns, because we know for sure that there is no way we can talk of any development where guns are ruling the streets. Just the last point I want to make is that African business people are readying themselves to interact under the rules of the AfCFTA. This was demonstrated in a meeting last April in Cape Town under the auspices of the AfCFTA, where business met to try to understand and their role in this whole architecture. So I would like to say that the right time is now to hook up, as they say, as the young people say, with your colleagues, with your partners, potential partners, use the embassies, high commissions to establish these links. I think after this and last week's commemoration, or 2 weeks ago, we will find some kind of direction, all of us, Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. And now we will go straight forward for His Excellency, Mr. Salih Muhammad Ahmed Mohammed Sadiq, Ambassador of the Republic of Sudan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Excellency, General Director of ISSI, the DG Africa, dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I would like again to extend my congratulations to all Africans on the occasion of the African Day. It is very important that all African countries shall come together to transfer the African Union goals of peace and stability into reality. Africans need to unite to face the challenges that obstruct the development of the continent, which is very rich with its resources. African states are in need to boost economic integration and promote the infrastructure of the member states of the continent. Also, the private sector is expected to play a significant role to increase the trade volume among the member states and to establish development projects. In this respect, I would like to reiterate that Sudan, as one of the richest countries in Africa with its natural resources and has much to give to Africa in all fields, especially in agriculture, industries, services, and others, and also as a member state of AfCFTA and other economic and trade organizations in Africa, is open to both private sector investment and government investment for African countries and other partners around the globe. Dear Excellencies, I am sure you are all aware about the current situation in Sudan due to the rebellion of the Rapid Support Forces, which tries to seize power by force in violation of the African Union Charter and the international laws, and committed all kinds of crimes against civilians, diplomats, and diplomatic missions, including the embassy of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in Khartoum. Therefore, Sudan calls on all African states and the international community to denounce the military rebellion launched by RSF and to exercise pressure on the rebels to put down arms, and also must clearly designate this rebel forces militia as terrorist organization, as we call in many occasions. Therefore, Sudan calls on all African states, international community to do all pressure on this rebellion organization. I conclude by wishing that all African countries would work together to achieve the aspirations of the Africans of peace, stability, and prosperity. I'm sorry. Thank you very much again, and I hope peace, as my colleague before mentioned, to all work together for peace in Africa, because peace is very, very important element for doing development in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And now, last, we will go to His Excellency, Mr. Shirwa Abdullah Ibrahim, Chargé d'Affaires for the Federal Republic of Somalia.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good day. Good afternoon. My special greetings goes to the DG of IS, Ambassador Sohail Mahmoud, and Ambassador Muhammad Kame, the African Mission, and the Chafed, the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Africa, and Amina Khan, the DG officer also there, and those are and anyone who always has participated in the organizing of this beautiful event. I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum to all of you. It is a great pleasure for all of us to be here today, for us in this round table that we're discussing the we are commenting the value and development of the African trade as wide. In general, the African the free trade of Africa agreement of Africa was a long sought dream in Africa, and I think all African countries have agreed to make it possible and achieve in sooner, so that it will be beneficial for the population of Africa and the rest of the world in general. The free trade of, particularly my points will be confined to the AfCFTA trade of Africa today, and this free trade for Africa will usher Africa to enhance all kinds of development which is necessary to enhance the long-term growth in African countries. Africa is no longer a continent of an aid. Is going to be a new Africa, a new continent. Is going to be a continent which would actively participate in the development of the world. Is going to be a continent who is going to have a word with the decisions made in Africa, in the world, and is going to be a continent which is considered to be one of the rule makers in the globe in Sona, inshallah. And also the African countries, with account of their capacity and to achieve the development required by its people in the near future. Africa is a continent of 1.3 billion of people across the 54 countries, with a combined gross domestic product of GDP valued to 3.5 trillion. So, and I think the whole world recognized and realized the importance of Africa, and I think Africa will no longer be ignored and left behind. This is an indication that the potentiality and the role of Africa is improving and transforming day after day as the leadership of African countries have already decided to move ahead. The AACF and protocol that has been and accepted and rectified most of Africa countries would easily help Africa to uplift millions of Africans from the abject poor in the near future. And we, as we have already mentioned, Africa is already divided into a number of economic blocks, and recently, I would like to mention here that Somalia is recently is going to successfully join to the AAC economic blocks in East Africa, and I think it is going to be also to contribute. This is going to be a step forward, a good step forward for the economic trade of Africa. And Somalia is part of the Africa, and also is an active continent, even though it has been a little bit been in chaos for the last decades. And Somalia has also an active and robust business communities throughout Africa, and I think across the African country as a whole.
and in particularly the East Africa or the Middle Africa, and this economic this is trade or business activities that the Somali business group are and enabling in Africa is also going to cooperate to contribute the development of the Africa and the free trade possibility of Africa. And in this regard, the relationship of Africa and Pakistan towards the relationship of the two parties, it will enable to get a successful, and it offers a fresh cooperation avenues between African countries and also Pakistan as a friendly country. And we wish this the cooperation of the African continent and Pakistan will move ahead and will be strengthened further, so that it will bring together the common interests of the two parties as well as we wished. I thank you all, and thank you for your attention, and I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Thank you, Excellencies, all of you, for your remarks and expressing that every country is African here present, using and expressing the potential actually for using the CFTA as a tool of inter-regional development. Excellency of Ethiopia raised the role of governance and moving economy. Excellency of Mauritius said that the agreement will change the face of Africa as Asia and Europe by 70% of the regional development ratio, and by focusing on human and investment capital. And His Excellency also for South Africa said that the agreement is a long, it's a result for a long way that Africa has traversed, expressing a previous African institutional edifice. And now we will move and to the open discussion with some Pakistani missions based in Africa. So we welcome all of their here, just according to the list that I'm having here and what I am seeing, there is 4 missions actually. So we will go with the Excellency Ambassador Saima Sayed, please. And just I want to ask you to be as brief as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marufi, for giving me the floor, and all protocols observed in view of the time constraint. Thank you very much to the esteemed colleagues who are here and the excellencies joining us from Islamabad. A wonderful discussion and very enlightening topic. The AfCFTA presents Africa as a vital regional bloc on the world stage. It presents the futuristic approach of Africa. It opens up new opportunities for countries like Pakistan who wish to engage with Africa wholeheartedly in all blocs and in all sectors, gives avenues for new partnerships in this huge market, and provides chances of economic growth for Africa and through bilateral trade and multilateral trade to Pakistan. As Ambassador of Pakistan in Senegal, I have felt in the short time period that I have been there, the immense hunger and the eagerness of the African continent and the African people to move ahead, to forge new partnerships, and to build, prosper, and flourish. In the recent Texpo exhibition held in Karachi, I led a delegation of Senegalese business women and men, and the same connectivity and the same eagerness that I saw, it was very, very encouraging. And through this AfCFTA, we hope to strengthen our linkages with Africa. As I say with my meetings with the Senegalese officials and people, the people of Pakistan and Africa may be far from one another, but they are connected through the heart and spirit. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for your brief and pertinent and optimistic, really, intervention. And now we will go to Excellency Farhat Aisha, please.
Honorable Chairman and DG ISSI, Additional Secretary Africa, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to join this webinar from Accra, the host city of AfCFTA Secretariat. I can bear witness to what my fellow ambassadors from African countries sitting in Islamabad has stated about the potential in Africa and how the infrastructure is developing and the systems are being put in place to realize the dream of prosperity of Africa. We have enjoyed Kenyan tea in Ghana, traded under the Guided Trade Initiative since last October. My message for the public and private sector in Pakistan is very brief. Please come and access African markets, increase your competitiveness. Number 2, take advantage of regional value chains, expand operations in Africa and increase the market share. And next is invest in manufacturing sector, create job for Africans as well as for Pakistani youth, and take advantage of congenial business environment and secure a niche place in innovation. With these remarks, I would like to conclude and congratulate Algeria on its election to Security Council. And thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Excellency. And now we will go to Excellency Ahmed. I'm sorry, like if I Siroy, or sorry if I pronounce the name like inadequate. Please, the floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Madam. Excellencies, ambassadors and colleagues, all protocols observed. Assalamu alaikum. AfCFTA is an opportunity for Pakistani business people because African continent, which is 30 million square kilometers and 1.4 billion people, is going to be is a shining continent now. And as ambassadors have very well stated that growth is taking place in Africa. Although there are a lot of challenges because there are a lot of tariff and non-tariff barriers among African countries within African regions, but they are being removed. AfCFTA is a target of 50% trade within by 2025. It may not be achieved, but they are heading towards that. And Pakistan is an opportunity, especially in small and medium industries, pharmaceuticals, agriculture especially, and irrigation projects, because Africa is moving towards the water preservation, canalization, and food security, where Pakistan has a lot of expertise. And pharmaceuticals, Pakistan has a lot of expertise. And Pakistan can make agro-based industry jointly, making hubs in different countries and taking advantage of African free trade area. And these hubs will give them opportunity to trade within African Union freely when all these tariff and non-tariff barriers will be removed. Right now, the canalization, as we say, Pakistan is one of the largest irrigated country, connected irrigation system in the world. And I was listening to our colleague in Moroccan colleague and Nigerian colleague, that food security and agriculture is one of the priorities. Pharmaceutical is one of the priorities. So pharmaceutical companies can shift and move in one of the countries in Africa and take opportunity of that. Now, the trade share in the world of entire Africa is 3%, but it's going to be double and triple in next 1 or 2 decades. Is one of the colleagues there, he said that by 2050, African population will be 2.5 billion. almost 1/4 of the entire world. So the youth world, which is removing the old people in Africa, that is another chance for skilled labor, cheap labor, which can be utilized providing jobs and creating connection between Pakistan and Africa. So this is the best chance for Pakistani business people, enterprises to come to Africa and explore it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. And now we were moving to His Excellency Jan Patan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate the heads of African missions in Islamabad, particularly Dean, the Ambassador of Morocco, Excellency Ambassador Karman, and the Mauritian High Commissioner, His Excellency Subedar Saab, for organizing this event. Special congrats and thanks to Ambassador Khalid Namusa, Chairman ISSI, and an extraordinary congratulations to DG ISSI, Ambassador Sohail Mahmood. I believe some of us here, the participant, might not be aware that the Engage Africa policy was formulated and approved during the Foreign Secretaryship of Ambassador Sohail Mahmood. So, and has a lot of support since to the Africa division of that time, of which I was also a member. During my remarks, I will briefly touch base only 4 points, particularly touching the AfCFTA. To benefit from AfCFTA, Africa needs to broadly implement across the board 3 major issues, which include removal of non-tariff barriers, improvement of infrastructure, as the Dean already mentioned, the transport and logistics, of which annual demand or expenditure is estimated to be $100 billion annually. And the third thing is to enable business environment to make AfCFTA effective in Africa, which includes credit facility, banking system, human resources, and above all, ease of doing business indices. My second point would be to meet and to implement these policies. There would be short-term difficulties for some countries of Africa, which may include the loss of tax revenues for some. There could be higher income inequalities, and finally, the higher unemployment rates. But the study reports of World Bank, IMF, UNCTAD, and the UN, as well as WTO, have suggested a number of policies and reforms that could be implemented in the African countries to overcome these difficulties in the short term. Well, implementation of AfCFTA is quite a challenging task for the AfCFTA Secretariat, particularly due to the heterogeneity of the members of or the African countries, which include, out of the 54 countries, 7 countries are under 1.5 million of population, and 3 are over 100 million. Similarly, Africa has 16% of the world population, but it hardly contributes less than 5% of the global income. Half of the continent, that makes 27 countries of Africa, are categorized as low-income countries by the WTO. So finally, focusing on what needs to be done, I suppose, as the Honorable Ambassador of Ethiopia also mentioned, that the good governance within the member states should be the priority of African states. Then, as the Honorable Secretary General of AfCFTA mentioned, that the intra-regional economic associations cooperation and the intra-Africa trade is the key for success of AfCFTA. The role of Secretariat should be on rule-based implementation of AfCFTA. So I wish good luck to the Honorable Secretary General and his team in Accra for successful implementation of AfCFTA. Finally, I'll just touch base a little bit on the bilateral relations, what this High Commission is doing, particularly with the countries of our resident and accredited countries, which include Mauritius, Seychelles, Madagascar, and Comoros. So we are collaborating with the relevant authorities in all these 4 countries in promotion of trade and investment, particularly in pharma, cement, textile, agriculture, development of logistics, particularly in Madagascar, and joint ventures in value addition projects. This was also mentioned by Honorable Dean. So these are the areas where our business sector, whether in trade or in investment, there is a huge potential of joint ventures in Africa, which would lead to also in some indirect link to implementation of AfCFTA. So we hope under the guidance of the ministry and the guidance of Ministry of Commerce, and particularly with the suggestions by our business community, we would be able to engage more substantively with Africa and to enhance our footprint, which is no less to reach in near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Thank you so much for your remarks. And now we will go to Excellency Ambassador Aftab Hassan.
Thank you, IHSI, Ambassador Suhail Mahmood, Ms. Amna Khan, for this opportunity. I have served in different continents, and let me say that in Africa, a person, whether living in South Africa or in Morocco, they think like Africans. So there's a great potential for AfCFTA. And there is an estimate that it can boost Africa's economy by 450 billion US dollar in next 10 to 12 years. But while sitting here, I see some impediments also. Let me briefly touch that. First of all, like peace and security, we know the situation in the Sudan and how it may expand in the Sahel regions. Similarly, there is impediment of fragmentation in Africa. People see that it has become a battleground for rivalry between big powers. We have on one hand Africa Growth and Opportunity Act to layer African countries, and we also listen to new terminologies like economic colonization used by one of our neighbor of Pakistan. Thirdly, the hard borders. So there is a lack of free movement of goods and people across the borders. Today, several thousand of people from South Africa has been asked to move back to Zimbabwe. But I'm sure that African people will overcome these impediments. From Pakistan's perspective, I think that while we engage with Africa as a continent, we must focus on the sub-regions, for example, SADC region, Southern Africa Development Corporation, SACU, South Africa Custom Unions, and bilaterally with the key countries, and make them hub and then connect in between these sub-regions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Excellency. And now we are moving to Ms. Maria Kazi from Ministry of Commerce. She's not here. She's coming back. So she will give her remarks. I don't know here what we that's a great just we will go for the next because time is like very precious. So last but not least, we are reaching the vote of thanks with His Excellency Mr. Rashid Ali Surbadar, Ambassador of the Republic of Mauritius to Pakistan. Excellence. Thank you.
Excellencies, gentle lady moderator, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, we have nearly reached the end. What we have just discussed today is significant in the context of Africa. Challenges are there, we do agree. Many of us have raised this question of challenges, but opportunities too are there. We are banking a lot on this Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have seen how AU have led the campaign of decolonization and how we have been successful. We have seen how AU has led the campaign against apartheid, how we have been successful. Why not in this one? Why not when the economy is concerned, when the welfare of the people is concerned, where food is concerned? We will succeed. We will succeed because there is a new wind of change in Africa. There is a new wind of change blowing in this part of the world. We will do it, inshallah. I will be now passing on with thanks. Before passing on with thanks, we have only one mission. Dear brothers, excellencies, we have one mission: to work to improve the conditions of our people. I will be passing on with thanking the thanks. We have to thank our special thanks go to our Dean, Ambassador Karmoon, who has initiated with his colleagues this event, how he prepared this event, and how he organized this event with the help of his colleagues. Thank you, Excellency. Our special thanks also go to the SSI. The SSI, ever ready, always ready to help us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mrs. Amina, gentle lady of Kamia. Very cooperative, very helpful. Thank you, gentle lady. I will be thanking you all who are here today to participate with us. It has been a bit long, of course, but rest assured that we have been able to deliver the message of building a new Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency, and really, it's very heartfelt what you are saying now. And now, finally, we are reaching the last segment of our seminar to the concluding remarks by Ambassador Khalid Mahmoud, Chairman of ISSI.
We have a very senior officer from the Ministry of Commerce, and I think it will be beneficial for all of us to hear from her.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a lot of thanks. Okay. Okay, moving now to Ms. Maria Kazi from Minister of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Institute of Strategic Studies and Excellency Mohammad Karmoon and all the ambassadors for organizing this event. It really increased our knowledge. We have been working, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Commerce, we have been working to engage with Africa, to enhance trade with Africa. But we have not been able to actually break the barriers. I would just give a small comment that Africa has different trading blocks. We have East African Community, we have South African Customs Union, we have ECOWAS in the West, we have AGOA and Al-Maghrib Union in the North. We have not been able to engage with any of these. We have not been able to engage with African Union. And we can explain our businessmen the benefits of African Continental Free Trade Area if we ourselves know exactly clearly about it. I know that it is created to enhance intra-African trade, as Excellency Ambassador of Mauritius pointed out. Intra-African trade is very low when compared to other continents in the world. But how can Pakistani businesses benefit from that? So I would request Excellency Ambassadors, if anyone can answer it now or can answer it later. What is the way, how can we engage in ACFTA in Accra? Can Pakistan become an observer? Can the government of Pakistan engage in any possible way so that the benefits you reap, we can partner with you in those? Because that is the question. Despite all the discussions, yes, it will improve intra-African trade, but my question is, how can ACFTA help in improving Pakistan-Africa trade?
Yes. Yes, thank you so much. Madam Maria Kazi, this is the question. And inshallah, we will try to give some response through our actions. Yeah.
Now, this is, I would like just to say a few words, not few words about your suggestion. I would believe that there should be a cooperation between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Commerce and the Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in Ghana, and also the embassy of, I think you have an embassy in Ethiopia. Yes. Yeah, and in Ethiopia, and you can all engage in this perspective, since the observer member status at the African Union is open. I think it could be done in this way. This is my idea, and I think if there is any other idea of my colleagues, they can just put it on the floor.
Thank you, Excellency. And now we are reaching to the last segment, as I said, for our seminar today, to the concluding remarks by Chairman of ISSI, His Excellency, Mr. Khalid Mahmoud. Please, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellency Muhammad Karmoon, the Dean of the Group of African Ambassadors and Heads of Missions accredited to Pakistan, Director General ISSI, Ambassador Sohail Mahmood, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in charge of Africa, Mr. Umrani, distinguished heads of missions of African missions in Islamabad, representatives of Ministry of Commerce and some think tanks. I saw DG of ISRA here, Ambassador Naila Chauhan, Ghalib Iqbal, Mr. Tugral, General Durrani, all are great patrons of ISSI. It really gives me great pleasure to be part of this event, which has been organized to mark Africa Day 2023, with focus on implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The AU decided that the theme of this year's celebrations would be implementation of this agreement. And during this meeting, we had some exchange of views. What does this free trade area agreement stands for? What opportunities it offers for African countries and other countries who want to partner with African countries like Pakistan. And also we, in the process, also identified what are the impediments. So I think it has been a very useful exercise, and as suggested by His Excellency Karmoon, that further discussion can take place in Ghana, as well as in Addis Ababa, and in Islamabad among the concerned ministries, primarily Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to explore ways of how Pakistan can benefit from the opportunities which will be opening up as a result of this free trade agreement. See, because for Pakistan, there's a very solid foundation of our relations, Pakistan and African continent. It has been nurtured right from the days of decolonization. We have been a very strong partners in this liberation struggles. I personally have experienced, having been posted in Algiers and Sudan, at the UN, in the UN Council for Namibia. And so we know how strong the ties have been forged between Pakistan and African countries. So solid foundation is there. It is only to see how we can translate this fund of goodwill into some practical ventures through greater trade and investment interaction. As has been pointed out, Pakistan has adopted policy of Look Africa. Now it has been converted into Engage Africa. So you see, we have moved from the process of looking at each other and we are now getting engaged. So we look forward to ever greater engagement and with very fruitful results to our mutual benefit. With these words, I would again like to thank all of you, including the representatives of media who covered this meeting, for participating in this event, which is an event of mutual joy and happiness as it marks the Africa Day celebrations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. And now we are reaching to the end of our seminar. I would like to thank you, all of you, to be here present with us, Excellencies. ISSI, Kamia, thank you so much for opening the door always for Africa. And now I think that this seminar have brought a clear operational idea of about the African potential closer to Pakistan and vice versa. So now we invite you to taste some African delight over here from different African countries. But first of all, we invite you on the group photo just to illustrate the moment. And thank you so much to another African Pakistani event, inshallah. Thank you so much.
How can you come with like this?